This is Rich Lieberman, and normally I don't react to pejoratives and things of that nature, especially when it comes from people who are anonymous. They make a lot of sort of childish kind of accusations and they heap a lot of shit my way, and they don't have the balls. And if you have kids or if you're sensitive to insults and expletives, you might want to turn this off because, you know, I don't get angry. It's trivial compared to what we're dealing with in this world today without going on an overly philosophical bend here because I realize my place. And compared to what is taking place and what we have in the offing and the future and all this nutty world that we are living, what I'm about to inject is a moleculic consequence. That's how insignificant in comparison to other things that this is. But I still have to address it because some of you have always been on the fence with me. Uh, when I was writing, you'd read me, and maybe you were pissed at me, you didn't like me, whatever, but you still read me. And I know a lot of people are watching now, and some aren't because they understand that they just don't have the time or they watch it later on. All right, I'll just cut to the chase in this regard. So I've been very critical. I will always be critical as long as I'm sitting here and they give me the avenue to be critical for. I listen only to inject myself to the horrendous nature of what people are subjected to. These once legit radio stations. And by the way, I've never applied to KCBS, never applied to KNBR, no interest, nothing whatsoever. I never worked for them, wouldn't want to work for them. This is not somebody, a disavowed person. I'm not growling because I want to work at these pathetic pieces of shit institutions that they call radio stations uh, because they're awful. They're truly bad. And they've morphed into the worst of the worst. I commented on it and comment present tense because it's so prevalent. I got somebody asked me on YouTube here, one of my watchers, and they asked me, Rich, in fact, it's probably up there. What did you think of Ralph Barbieri? And I said he was awesome. He made me watch or listen. They didn't have YouTube in this era at KNBR, but Ralph was great. I mean, every now and then he was a pain in the ass, like we all are. But did you listen? Of course you did. Was he original? Yeah, and sometimes not for the reasons which you wanted to listen, but you listened because he was unique and because he was creative. And even when he wasn't creative, there was some gumption of funniness and craziness, and he was original without having to be original. More importantly, not trying to be anything other than who he was. And yet we listened. I did. Was he a pain in the ass? Yeah, like we all are, as I just said. But compared to what they have today, and I'm not really comparing Ralph Barbieri to what they have today, because that would be like comparing a dinosaur to an army ant. That's how bad KNBR is. But Pete Franklin and even Radnich, and they had a morning show. I wasn't a great Frank and Mike guy, but at least they were trying, somewhat original. And now we have this dreck. And yes, I am critical. And when I listen to a KCBS, it's not my intent every day to look at you and kvetch endlessly about these morons or the misfits, these interns that have to go do their dirty work and basically fuck with me and give me shit, which you're not really doing. I'm laughing. I laugh. Oh, every now and then they're creative, but I know where it's coming from. I know people who tell me where it's coming from. And fine, be critical. Fine, disagree with me, debate me, figuratively speaking. Interns at KNBR, which is what you are, and producers and call screeners, these little white guys, you know, with their Uber jobs and all that. Sarcasm intended. You know what? KNBR misfits and KCBS interns and misfits. You know what? I I've always stated this. My criticism, my ripping, my continued beration, if that's a word, berating you, whatever you want, phrase you want to use, is based on the fact that I worked in radio early on in my career when I had a radio life and when I was performing and not the consumer that I am now. And we had talent then. We had people that worked hard, that were funny, that were original, that had talent, not the breadcrumbs and the alfalfa sprouts that is bereft no longer. It is. It's the centerpiece of your medium today. And it's here. And I know, look, I don't deride you because you drive an Uber car or they're paying you 20 bucks an hour or whatever it is, because KNBR is not a union station. KCBS is. KCBS is full of dreck too. My beef is they make you guys, it's most of you guys, they to go out and insult me and throw pejoratives at my way. I at least have the balls, metaphorically speaking and otherwise, to rip you and criticize you and bemoan you and belittle you because my name is up there. I don't hide behind computers. I don't hide behind platforms and throw out insults, what have you, and go anonymous. You're cowards, KNBR. You are. All of you. I have no friends over there, and that's fine. I I look at that as a badge of honor, and I don't need your look or your warrant or this, that, or the other. You have become the misfits and the miscreants that you are. I got a little note today from one of the interns. We had on John Lynch this morning on KNBR. What did you have? Well, I have interesting interviews every now and then. I had Roxy Bernstein on yesterday, or I've had Ted Robinson on, or I've had attorneys on. I've had some newsmakers on. I don't consider John Lynch a get. John Lynch is the general manager of the 49ers. He's paid to go on your stupid little shows to be a PR conduit. It's not a knock on him, but I don't hear anybody say, God, John Lynch was on the radio. So before you insult me, KNBR, people like producers and engineers, if they have one over there, or various on air people, before you insult me, pick a better person, pick a better, individual. If you're going to use John Lynch, that's pretty desperate because I don't hear anybody, oh my God, did you hear what John Lynch said? Or, you know what? The hell with this. The hell with that guy. I want to hear John Lynch, as if John Lynch is going to say anything, which he's not. He can laugh good and he can try to be original. My point is, when I get these insults, and I don't, 98% of them don't react to, I just laughed at the John Lynch that somebody threw out there, probably one of their mid morning guys who acts as an Uber driver or maybe as a producer or what have you. It could be Papa's son. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But use a better individual. I mean, at least somebody that's worth John Lynch, a guy that goes on the air because he has a contract to do shows, just like the coach does, who also doesn't say anything. But that's the nature of that part of the business. You're the flagship station for the 49ers. So yeah, the owner, not the owner, but the GM and the coach, they do those stupid shows where nothing happens. They're boring shows. They say nothing. They only go on because they're contractually obligated to go on. It's not just that though. You guys have nothing. You've migrated into not only boring, which is bad enough, you're irrelevant. Look what you're having to do when the 49ers, have a bye week. So for 2 weeks, you have to rely upon your nauseous, boring, irrelevant hosts. And your cume is like now below 100,000. Used to be over 1 million when Radnich was on, when Ralph Barbieri was on, when people of substance, when people who had talent, who could interview, who didn't sit by and let the other moron talk and basically do a monologue without any kind of conversation, and who had legitimate interviewees who talked, and the people were interested. Even so, we've had the internet for what, 30 years now. So it's not the internet has changed things. It's why KCBS is the shits. Because, well, they have an excuse now. Their parent company, like your parent company, KNBR, Cumulus and Odyssey and Entercom, you're garbage. And I know, look, there's a lot of you who write to me that understand the situation and have a degree of humility. And I care for you and I care about you guys. It's mostly guys. I understand you're there. You want to earn a living. You have to earn a living because we all got to eat, right? And take care of our families if we have families. But even if we don't, you people work hard. It's not you that I go after. It's not the content, the abysmal content that is so prevalent at a KCBS, at a KNBR. I understand those folks. The people that I kind of chuckle at and get a little peeved at, beyond that, peeved, it's too little a word, are the ones who throw insults and don't identify themselves. They hide behind their little keyboard, with a so-called keyboard warriors, right? And they're told to do the dirty work from the bosses, or maybe they act on their own. Who the hell knows? Who the fuck cares? My point is, I'm here and I will call you out. And people will ask me about the people that used to work there who were talented and not the idiots and the mahoos and the guys who like to make jokes about their name and think they're hip because their name is Copes or Copy Dopes or Mopes. And the other guy talks about beer and mentions the fact about his alma mater as if we gave a shit about Arizona or Notre Dame. We'll have to kiss ass to other people. At least I come here without papers or anything of that. And I'm talking to people who get it, who understand, and who laugh, not with you, at you, a KNBR or a KCBS. At least I'll give KCBS credit. They still have a few people left up in the attic, albeit maybe fostering egos because they know or they want for some odd reason to tell their beloved friends or spouses or girlfriends or whatever, hookers, I'm on the radio. As if that means something, as if fucking people with their phones looking into their goddamn screens give a shit and actually listen to a radio these days. I listen to a radio because I still want to hear, because of a guilty pleasure, about the fact of what has happened to terrestrial radio. Any day now, will be buried, you know. So I had to come back and say, look, it gives me no pleasure to do insults and call out people. Well, maybe that I enjoy doing that because there's so much cowardice involved. But look, you know, listened to KGO when it was the king and when it had great people like Jim Dunbar and Ron Owens in his prime and people like Joe Starkey and we had Russ Coughlin and Monty Stickles, even though he was kind of a mess, he was funny, he was original, he became a character, perhaps a caricature later on. But these were people that were talented, that had humility, that had grace. They knew they were good, therefore some of their warts and all were okay, like a Ralph Barbieri, because at least Ralph was entertaining and not attempting to be some little schmuck named Copes, whatever the fuck that is, Copey Copes, who got on the air because they had talent, not because they checked the boxes, if you know what I mean. Not because they could go on Twitter and voice their opinions about what was taking place in the world, who had talent and humility and had an iota of semblance of actual creativity, not people who got on the air because they represented a certain segment, a certain color, a certain gender, a certain fill in the blank. That's what KNBR is today, save for a few morsels and breadcrumbs that are staying on so they can say, I've got 20 years in the company. Therefore, when they are eventually let go and fired or whatever, that they'll give some money from the company to go away. That's what it is today. That's what radio is. That's what television news is for the most part. Only this San Francisco seems to have taken, and the Bay Area, a center hit. People understand what I'm saying. And I'm not here to be some, asshole righteous who I'm going to save the world by calling these assholes out. But I am going to call these assholes out, and particularly the ones who are left to make derogatory shots at me, all the while on their keyboards, and yes, not having the balls, the cojones to identify themselves when they make particularly hurtful, not my case, insulting, downright certain things. You understand what I'm saying. They do that. And I am public. I'm not trying to win a job. I am not trying to score points with certain assholes or companies because I know what they stand for. I just do what I do. And I don't give a shit if you hit me, metaphorically speaking, and throw insults at me. I care and I'm responding now because it shouldn't have to be the Uber drivers and the $20 an hour producers who lob their attacks. And I know who you are by and large, most of you. I know who you are. And nobody knows about you or gives a damn or gives a shit. I'm responding to the general practice of what you do. And look, as long as you're happy and staying there and telling people I work for a radio station as if that meant something this day and age, fine. Continue on, carry on until the day that you become dark, literally and figuratively, which inevitably is going to happen. And that's the case for everything and everybody, but most prevalent in the manner and the market called terrestrial AM and FM radio today. We're all susceptible to our own fate, whether it's because of us, whether it's because of companies, et cetera, et cetera. My only point is, look, folks who are watching and have been with me, now watch me and read me, know where my MO is. I don't have any MO. Yes, I am critical of these stations because they carry on with the dreck that they have and the garbage that they spew out with basically unqualified people, which is bad enough. But when they have to put their little schmuckos who work behind the scenes, some of whom got the position based on their father who got them the job so they can spew forth and have to work with these morons and radio gypsies like John Lund, for example, or Brian Murphy, who's there because he kisses the ass of corporate people and he has his nose up Larry Bear's ass, or in the case with Papa, Great Papa, who is ridiculous and is the linchpin, no pun intended, of ridiculousness and has clearly had better days years ago. Well, so be it. But I just thought I would point out that, look, keep it coming. Be anonymous. That's cool because I know how you operate, and now they do. Well, they've always known, they being the people who watch me here and so forth. So, congratulations, by the way, again, on getting John Lynch, because I know when I want to be motivated and listen to something interesting, I'm going to listen to John Lynch because, my God, he might as well be Woody Allen or Hunter S. Thompson when he was alive, or Joe Rogan, because John Lynch, that's the best you got. Excuse me, or as Copy Copes would say.